Good morning, Ohio. It's James Lewis of This Dream House. With us today is JW Kiser, MMA fighter, and most recently participant in Bellator 214. Thank you for joining us.
How's it going, man?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Doing great. Just living the dream, man.
Just getting back from that great vacation. Where was that to?
We went to down to San Juan in Puerto Rico. God dang, sorry, man. I haven't had my coffee yet this morning.
No worries, it happens.
We
I
went,
was going to say
we went down to Puerto Rico. We went to San Juan, went to Old San Juan, and then to Culebra Island, which is right off the coast of San Juan. It's an awesome trip.
Oh, it looked amazing. Yeah, I saw some of the photos, and it looked like just gorgeous weather, because I know around here the weather was awful.
Man, it was it was a nightmare. I was getting death threats on my instant messenger from people that stop posting all that nice weather, man.
Exactly. I mean, heck, we were below zero, and you were probably 80, 90, something like that?
It was about 80 degrees there pretty much the entire time we were there. There was a little shift at night down to about 75. Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Oh.
And I know that, like, here in Kansas City, man, getting nailed with ice storm after ice storm, and yeah.
Exactly.
It sounded bad. We were lucky we missed it.
So how did it all get started? What got you into MMA?
Man, this goes all the way back to when I was 14 years old. I started boxing in a town, Worland, Wyoming, up in the mountain region, northern part of Wyoming, little small town, middle of nowhere. A guy named Mac McBride had a boxing club, and myself and my two cousins joined it. And I boxed for my first year. I got into it then, and I just kind of combat sports was kind of my thing. After that, it was, I didn't play a whole lot of team sports in high school. I played some men's league stuff, but it was all about boxing and MMA after that.
Oh, nice. So
when I boxed through high school, and then after high school, they didn't have anything really available for just locally for amateur stuff for MMA until I was about 28 years old, which is about 13 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a tough man contest come to town, and for MMA, and I'd been watching it since 1992 when UFC, the first UFC was on. Always wanted to try it, so I said the heck with it. Went in and won the thing. It was a tough man style where you fight till you lose, so I ended up winning. And I fought in those for a couple of years, and then they started getting sanctioned. The boxing commission started getting involved, trying to get some safety for the fighters, which was good. And then I started, actually getting sanctioned fights and stuff like that. But I fought 18 times unsanctioned before I even fought my first sanctioned fight.
Oh, wow. So one heck of a long history with the sports.
Yeah. I got 53 fights or 52 fights in. I don't know if you watched the Bellator deal, but Frank Mir was hammering me, man, about, well, I don't know that, all I know is he's got 18 amateur fights. I'm like, man, shut up, dude.
Yeah.
Commentators, they got a job to do.
Exactly. Yeah, I was going to say they won't give you credit for what
basically
you
said he didn't know. But basically in my interview with Frank Mir and Big John McCarthy, and there was a few others in there. The commentator interview, I basically was telling them what I was telling you, where I fought unsanctioned fights, and when I said the term I fought in the Wild West, I said that to the wrong couple of dudes, because Big John was like, whoa, Wild West, what's your Wild West days go back to? And I'm like, well, I was like, man, right there, I knew there was no right answer. And I was like, well, 2006 to about 2009, 2010. And then they had the whole, oh my God, rah, rah, rah. All the video of the fight. I was like, you bastards. Anyway.
Exactly. I know what you mean.
It was, they were rough on me. So yeah, the sanctioned fights I've got, I'm actually 11-7. They said I was 10-8. I'm 11-7 amateur in sanctioned fights. And I don't know, I counted up one day. It's right around 52 fights.
Oh, dang. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it's not right. They don't give you proper credit for all that you've done in the sport. So you mentioned early on it was boxing driven. Um,
Yeah.
what weight class were you originally when you were boxing?
105. I was a little guy. Yeah, I was 14 years old. Junior Olympics. I boxed in the 105-pound division. I won state championship and got voted the most promising boxer in the state of Wyoming when I was a kid by the award. Basically, it was all the boxing coaches in the state. They vote on these awards. So I got that award. I was a proud kid.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's huge. I was going to say, being one of the top boxers in a state. I mean, that's phenomenal. So you were in the 105 back then. Obviously, you've
Yeah.
come a long way since.
Yeah, now I'm heavyweight.
So
I was a late bloomer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was. That's why I think I feel like I'm in a little better shape than most 41-year-olds. I didn't really grow until after high school.
So with that, did you take time away from the sport, or did you continuously box and do the other things?
I had to, when I moved to Kansas City, I started boxing out of Olathe, boxed in a couple smoker matches here, and just kind of got into, the typical thing where you're a kid and you're just doing other stuff. I basically left all the sports whatsoever. I played, basketball and whatnot, just city leagues and stuff like that. And then like I said earlier, the MMA started coming around, and those were, man, I say the Wild West days. We'll just call them the newer West days. I'll agree with Frank Mir. The newer West days, when it was pretty dangerous, man. Like I fought a guy that, they pulled out of the crowd and there was no weight classes, you know what I mean? Like it was just craziness. It was, I'm glad the boxing commission got involved and they started, getting the sanction the fights are sanctioned now. So there's a little more safety involved. Like you're not getting matched up with crazy guys. You're not fighting 4 times in one night, stuff like that. I mean, a lot of injuries come with that type of, setup, especially when you're pulling guys that aren't even athletes into the cage, and you're letting them duke it out. Basically, back then it was just a street fight, you know what I mean? It's just like nobody really had any skills. They didn't have any real local gyms available and MMA wise, you know what I mean? It was like, yeah, dangerous stuff.
Exactly. Like you were saying, it didn't have the weight classes. It didn't have the organization. It didn't have the rules. It didn't have the sanctions. It didn't have
the only rules. I mean, it was like, we had gloves,
yeah.
Obviously it wasn't like way back in like they're talking about the Wild West days. It was, we had gloves. There was a referee in there, and it was just like, it was the basic rules you see in the UFC. It was still, there was rules, but it was still, there was no governing body handling these matches. So, the guy, basically the promoter, could do whatever he wanted.
Exactly. And
I fought in a tag team MMA match, man.
Yeah. So
only time I've ever been knocked out.
So what originally got you in the MMA? What was your first MMA fight like?
That first MMA fight would have been the tournament I was telling you about, the Tough Man contest. Like I said, we would watch it on, we get the UFC fights on there, and we watch them on TV, but it was the first time anybody had made that available to me anyway, locally at a local amateur level.
So in 2010, that's where a lot of the websites have your first amateur fight starting up in the MMA.
Yeah, that's when they first started. That was my first sanctioned fight.
Exactly. Like you said, you'd had a bunch prior to that. So obviously going into there, you probably were not scared or intimidated by fighting because you had done it so many times.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get scared, but I get nervous. I don't. Anybody that says they don't get nervous before a fight is just a liar. You got nerves before every fight. It's the outcome is always uncertain. It doesn't matter how confident you are, how much you've trained, how much you've prepared. I mean, it's definitely part of this is mental, but like, I had prepared myself for previous fights mentally. So yeah, I was definitely, the experience level was, yeah, I was way better prepared mentally than most of the guys that were fighting in 2010 with no fights on record.
And it kind of shows with some of your stats, because some of your fights ended within a minute. I mean,
yeah, like, I think I got like, I know the ones that are on record. I got a lot of, I don't know, 30-second knockouts, 55-second knockouts, quick knockouts, quick finishes. The I think I got it's somewhere around 18 or 19 knockouts.
oh,
Just
nice.
just knock. Most all of them are in the first 30 seconds. Like they used to call me 90 seconds or less Kiser. So it was
Yeah, and
if I
shoot, you
made it
didn't even
past
talk
90
about the
seconds,
ones that are the extreme numbers. You have one that's 22 seconds, one that's 28 seconds, one that's 6
I've
seconds.
I've got a 6-second knockout. Yeah, in Casper, Wyoming. Yeah, I caught a guy with just a quick left, and yeah, it was over that quick.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, so it sounds like striking has always been your strong point with going back to your boxing days. Tell us about your coaching staff and who helps you train nowadays.
Being that I just went pro, I worked for the railroad, so I had a hard time getting good training, and I was smart enough to know that becoming a pro, taking a pro fight was not a good idea until I was in a situation or position in my life that I on a full-time basis. So I waited, and I even almost thought that I was I was going to retire from fighting when I was I think I was like, it was when I started fighting with in the sanctioned fights. I got rocked in my jaw. I fought a guy, went 2 rounds. I ended up losing the fight, but we got fight of the night. It was another, heavy striker. Man, I got caught in the jaw. It was my jaw swole up. I basically thought for a minute there that I was just done with MMA. I couldn't chew food for like 2 weeks. I was trying to move up in the company I was working at. And I just thought at that time it was not a good idea to keep on fighting. Just at that point being a recreation, and it wasn't really anything I saw a future in other than just being able to have fun in there. And that's all I've ever fought for was for fun. It's never been an ego boost. It's never been, when I was in high school, I did fight for testosterone reasons, ego boost, just because, hell, you're a kid. But at some point, this becomes an art. You get an opportunity to go and showcase your skills. You train your butt off, Anyway, I was never in a position where I could train full time and until about 1 year ago. And I said, you know what? I'm 40 years old. I got to do it. It's now or never. As many fights as I have amateur, it would be a travesty for me to go out as an amateur. I just at this point in my life, I want to at least take a couple of pro fights just so that I can go out as a pro. And so that's what I did. I took the pro leap, and I've been working on my ground game. Anybody that saw the 214 Bellator fight was, Hager. Credit to Jake. He took the fight seriously. He came in and he knew that he did not want to strike with me, because if he did strike with me, it would have been another 30-second knockout. He knew to close the distance. He knew to jam me up. He did well. He did smart. He did what he was supposed to. But there was a couple of mistakes there. Even though I was on bottom, we knew that he was probably going to get a takedown. We trained for it, and the problem that I got is I got too comfortable on the bottom. I was comfortable. None of his strikes were even bothering me. Yeah, he got a elbow in there, but he missed 4 times before that. It was like we were comfortable where I was at, but I should have pulled guard. We wanted him to kind of wear himself out. We knew a new fighter tends to hold their breath. we thought, okay, we're going to relax. We're going to let him work. We're going to, stay on the bottom. We're not, the plan was kind of like, the problem is like I relaxed too much and he got the triangle on me and I wasn't expecting it. So it was, the arm triangle. So a little disappointing. My team, we're working on my ground game, trying to get that up to par because, I'm just like, I come from a long line of hard punchers. A lot of knockouts in the family. We my grandpa was legendary. Of course, he never fought, but he was he was in World War II, and it's just a story I always heard. Was he punched a guy so hard it knocked his eyeball out of socket.
Oh wow!
And I'd have been horrified because it wasn't a German or anything, but it was actually one of the guys that was in his crew. So anyway, yeah. So that's kind of. We're working. I work with Zach Cummings. He's a UFC fighter, current UFC fighter, great guy. I've been working with Austin Ford. He's my mental coach and boxing coach. He's also a great guy. They're both awesome coaches, and I've been going to a lot of the different gyms around KC and learning different stuff from different coaches. But my coaches are Zach Cummings and Austin Ford.
So it seems they've definitely made an impact, like you said. I mean, you've been known for your striking, but they've helped you round out your ground game, it sounds like.
Yeah. If you saw my fight with Michael Edwards, the one that actually earned me the spot with Bellator, it was kind of similar to that. We knew he was an early, a newer fighter too. He took me down. We pulled guard. We just let him kind of wear himself out. He eventually wore himself out. We got on top, pounded him out, KO'd him in the first round.
Exactly. Yeah, I was going to say, that was a heck of a good fight. I know what you mean. You stuck with you went in there with a plan. You stuck with it. I mean, you definitely you could see why they wanted you at Bellator. Have you had any talks with them about what's next?
Yeah, I've actually, I'm about to sign a contract for a fight here locally in Kansas City in June. And then after that fight, Bellator, all I've really been told verbally from Bellator is to leave the second half of 2019 open.
Oh, nice. I was going to say that's
I got a message from them saying, hey, are you worried about, never getting to fight for Bellator again? And I said, well, absolutely. I feel like I kind of blew my one shot. And they basically said, well, don't even worry about it. We really like the way you handle yourself in the media, et cetera. We'll have you back. Keep the last half of the year open. Nice. I was like, sweet.
Excellent.
So, yep, I don't really know much. I just know that I'll get another chance.
So when's the big fight in Kansas City?
It's going to be in June at Maristar Casino.
Oh, nice. Do you already have
Shamrock FC?
Oh, do you already have the opponent?
Yes, I do. I haven't signed the contract yet, so I don't want to say too much.
No worries. I know how that is. Yeah, I was going to say we have that happen with fighters all the time. They're like, yeah, I got a big announcement, but I can't say right now. And I'm like,
yeah, I mean, honestly, legally we're not supposed to promote it or talk about it all until contracts are signed.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I was going to say we had that with professional wrestling as well. One of our guests next week is Al Snow. Used to be in WWE, and he runs OVW now. And because of the bureaucracy and all that, they weren't allowed to put on their website their March 2nd event until Kentucky finally approved it the other day. And he's like, yeah, don't talk about it yet. And I'm like, oh, okay, I won't talk about it till it happens. So
yeah, it's just a contract thing. It's a legal issue. I mean, like it's really not going to hurt anybody. I mean, the worst thing is that the promotion is not going to enjoy you talking about a fight that never happens.
Exactly. I know what you mean.
For one reason or another, So
are you doing a camp for this upcoming fight?
Am I going to camp? Absolutely. I'm going to probably I'm going to probably do my camp with Zach here in Kansas City, but I was considering going. I don't know yet. I may fly to Colorado and train with Factory X up there, or possibly team elevation. I don't know yet. As of right now, I'm going to be training with Zach.
Oh, nice. So
at
you got
Glory.
options. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
Excellent. And then, like you said, they said to leave the second half of the year open. Can't go into much more detail than that. But, yeah, they have a really exciting heavyweight division there.
It's, I'm excited. The fight, regardless if I did lose, it was disappointing, but it was an experience like no other, man. I mean, for me to get the chance to fight on a card that big, I mean, there was 40,000 people in the forum, man. And it was like every time I landed a punch on Hager, I mean, you could feel the majority of the crowd was pulling for me, man. It was freaking unreal,
Exactly.
and to go from boxing in Worland, Wyoming at 14 years old to being in Los Angeles at the forum where Muhammad Ali fought, and being able to step out there in front of 40,000 people and 1 million people watched it at home and, get a fight like that. It was pretty surreal, man.
And like you said, Bellator,
Very
top-notch, classy organization. They've been doing things the right way. And, and then one of the things I really like is the fact that they allow their fighters to have sponsors. Do you have any sponsors you want to share with us?
Man, Straight Edge Barbershop. Those guys have they've had my back since I started this. Susio Gaines, he's a personal trainer, good friend of mine. I'd like to shout out to Luigi's. They it's a restaurant in Leavenworth, Kansas that supported me, and the Depot, another restaurant there in town that supported me.
Nice. I was going to say, it shows on here you don't have a nickname. That kind of surprises me.
Mad Cannons.
Oh, okay.
JW Mad Cannons Kiser.
Excellent. That makes more sense because, on one of the websites that pulled up, I was like, it seems like he should have one by now.
Yeah, they couldn't even, man. Most ESPN couldn't even get my record straight, man. They kept having me as 0-1. I'm like, shut up, dude. I'm 1-1. Come on, I had to win to get this opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't just hand out Bellator fights like it's candy at Halloween.
Yeah, well, I mean, my manager messaged me about 3 days before the fight with Michael Edwards, and he said, I needed to win because Bellator wanted me to fight Jack Swagger. And I was like, I didn't know who Jack Swagger was. I mean, I definitely remembered him after I looked him up, but I hadn't watched WWE in so long that I didn't have it. I just knew I saw Bellator. You know what I mean? I saw Bellator on the message, and I was like, well, I don't care who it is. I definitely would take that fight. Then to come to find out I'm on the biggest Bellator card in history, on the main card 2 fights before the main event, I was like, oh, wow.
And your opponent definitely did take it more serious than, say, Phil Brooks did, we'll say.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, Jack definitely has a nice, bright future there in MMA, like you said. There's some of the things that he needs to work on, but did an excellent job, and the two of you had a phenomenal fight, I believe.
Yeah, it was a blast, man. He definitely, I can appreciate that he took it seriously too. And the other thing, the more we can bring stars in MMA, I definitely 100% went in to knock that dude out, and I was pretty confident that it was going to happen. Honestly, we were not scared of really much anything. Like I said, I got a little lazy on the bottom. I'm just going to say that. At the same time, losing to Jake was not a bad thing on any means, because I own an MMA promotion also, Universal Combat League. We do shows here in Kansas City, and I'm a promoter. I'm a matchmaker. So I get it. I understand what the business is about, and it's good to get. The popularity is kind of planed out on MMA. It was really a fast growing sport about 10 years ago. I mean, it was, 10, 15 years ago, this was the fastest growing sport in the world. It's kind of planed out a little bit. It's the market has gotten a little saturated. It's hard to get people interested in sponsorships and whatnot, but, and that's not my level, anyway, for, a guy to come in from WWE and have success in MMA, I think is a good thing, because that in itself, it's going to help us, continue to grow the sport. And that's really what I'm about. I love fighting. I've always loved fighting. I've dedicated my entire life to mixed martial arts. And I can appreciate that, a guy can come in and bring some light back to MMA. WWE start and they're having some success. Okay. So there's a possibility you can convert sports. That's okay. You know what I mean? It's okay with me. He's a pretty good guy too, even though he kind of doesn't seem like it on TV sometimes. I think that it's just an act.
I know what you mean. Yeah, definitely brings the showmanship into it. It brings the the ability to, like you said, how he plays a character on the TV, but makes it definitely interesting. And then obviously, I mean, his wrestling background was phenomenal.
Yeah, it's legit.
Exactly. So
yeah, he's an Oklahoma Division I wrestler. So yeah, he's been a successful athlete his whole life. So
excellent. So I was going to say,
definitely.
I know you can't really agree to any of them, but I just want to throw out some that I want to say. You fought him. Obviously, Bobby Lashley should be on the list, because I think he does Bellator sometimes. Ramiro Cotton would be another interesting one, but I forget if Ramiro is one weight class below or he's heavyweight. But yeah, I think there could be some interesting matchups there with you. But definitely tell us about your websites for your promotion's website.
Yes, sir. It is UCLcombat.com.
Excellent. And when's your next big event?
Our next big event is going to be June in Kansas City at Whiskey Tangos.
Oh, nice. Is that the one you're fighting at?
No, I'll be fighting for Shamrock. Yeah, I juggle chainsaws, as my wife calls it. I'm constantly juggling oranges or baseballs, whatever. I'm juggling the promotion with the fighting, and I've got a gym too. So I'm a busy guy.
Your hands are definitely full, I can imagine. You taking that nice vacation though again afterwards, or is that only after the Bellator fights?
That's probably only going to be after the Bellator fights. We had that one coming. We put in a tough year. I fought 3 times, and then actually 4 times in a 1-year stretch. But 2018, I fought 3 times, and I the wife and I just like between that, and we did 6 shows, 6 UCL shows. So between running 6 at UCL shows, the gym, and then I told the wife, I said, you know what, this has been very stressful, just, preparing for this fight, going from one training camp right into the next one. I fought 7 weeks apart and literally signed the Bellator contract less than 24 hours after the December 1st fight. So it was like, so fought December 1st, January 26th, and I said, let's go. We took a 12-day vacation, and I feel like it was much needed. Nice and relaxing, but back to the grind.
Excellent. Yeah, I was going to say it definitely well deserved, like you said. I mean, all those fights, all the work you put into it, and like you said, organizing the other fights. So before we let you go, if fans are wanting to know more about JW Kiser, where on social media, where on the web should they check you out at?
Go to Instagram. Instagram is JDUB, so JDub92277. They can also find me on Twitter under JW Kiser. You can also find me on Facebook. Facebook is probably your best bet. I keep my, I got it open. You can go and look at my Facebook page anytime. Friend me, send me a friend request, send me a message, personal message. I answer all my messages. Anything like that is a great way to follow me. And then you can always check us out at UCLcombat.com, and you'll see updates on the Universal Combat League there.
Sounds great. Thank you,
UCL Combat or Universal Combat League also on Facebook too. We have a Facebook page and Instagram also.
Oh, nice. So it sounds like there are plenty of ways for them to learn about your organization and learn about you as a fighter. And we wish you the best of luck for the rest of 2019.
All right, brother. I appreciate the call.
My pleasure.